I'm not sure that we have the actual like empirical evidence to say that that once you get your PhD that you don't develop lifelong collaborations, right? Like, I think it's probably really varied. I think some people hold on to some of those relationships that they formed during their PhDs, and some people don't. But I will say, like, I can certainly understand why some people are reticent to hold on to those relationships, because some of those relationships may have been really unproductive, very difficult, very like emotionally challenging, right? There's a lot of power dynamics in the academy. And I know from mentoring dozens of doctoral students that some advisors are really fantastic and some advisors are not. Some advisors give their students a lot of agency, but also direction. And some people, sort of create really toxic, dependent relationships where grad students feel constantly like beat down and never really like they're contributing. And that can feel really icky. Like, why would you want to maintain a relationship with somebody who kind of berated you, constantly? Even if maybe they had like good intentions to try to get you to think better and to be your best self, it doesn't feel good, right? To cultivate or to hold on to a relationship in which you feel really emotionally scarred by. And so, for sure, there are. Those are some of the reasons I think people wouldn't hold on to those relationships. And I think other people, I do try to encourage people, don't like be dependent on your advisor. Really try to have a team of people who are supporting you. When I was in grad school, my advisor was amazing in many ways. And there were ways in which like he wasn't really helpful to me. And so I reached out to other professors. I also reached out to a lot of professors who are emeriti or emeritus status, because they really wanted to engage with students. Like, they were kind of at the part of their career where their legacy is what they're able to pass down to next generations. And so I had coffee with several professors who were like in their 80s and their 90s. And they would read my work and they would give me feedback, and they were like such amazing sources of wisdom. And I didn't have those kinds of like, those power dynamics weren't there in a way, because they had nothing to prove and they had a lot of time for me. So yeah, my advice to people is like, if your relationship with your advisor is not working out, like, make sure you are really diversifying the people who are on your team.
Yes.
And hopefully those relationships will carry on as you pursue your career, regardless of whether you stay in academia or not.
Angelina Giovani, welcome to PhD Lounge, and it's a pleasure to having a chat officially now on the podcast, because we had one last week. So how do you feel? How are you feeling today? What have you been up to before joining in?
Thank you for having me. It's very kind of you to invite me on the podcast. I know a few of my friends who already have PhDs. I could see they're already connected to you on LinkedIn. It's been good. It's been a good day. I'm based in London. There's been a lot of responding to researchers who are carrying out requests for our app stores, and while at the same time about to submit one of our own research projects. So a lot of editing and writing and double checking things. So just a normal Wednesday, really.
Normal Wednesday. Yeah,
normal
exactly.
Wednesday.
And I think that's usually it's the middle of the week, and then we get so much work to do. It feels like Monday, and then goes to Tuesday. Again, Wednesday, I'm gonna be back to Monday, and then the same.
I know.
One. And then
I do love a Monday. It's my favorite day of the week.
I think it's also a great day to start off the weekend and say, okay, I got this. I got full of energy after spending the weekends. And
good planning.
Yes, it's essentially the planning. The weekends are sacred, so no work whatsoever.
How have you been? How's your week been?
Week's been fine. Just been applying for jobs. I'm also working on the podcast today. was released a talk I had last week with a PhD candidate from Swansea University, and he's rather from STEM. He was doing some studies on Alzheimer using zebrafish and
Interesting.
study on brain lipids. So it was really interesting. It was a really interesting talk, and for me, as coming from an art and humanities background, you need to be more specific.
Yes, speaking to the real sciences.
Speak the real sciences, so to speak.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Sometimes you think you're like, as everyone in their job, sometimes you think you've done a really complicated thing.
Yes.
And then you speak to someone else and you can't even start grasping what they've been doing all day. And you're like, oh, okay, what I was doing was pretty basic.
Yes. It's just lab. For them, is lab work and lab conversation. So we had set up the talk because you have an app. It has been really launched recently, and you approached me and say, I've got this app called Source, and just for the students and graduates around here, I just need to enter my email, and my password is, for the students and graduates out there, is like basically this around here. If I am correct. It has the notification on that because I need to update my Stripe account, but I'll go there afterwards. So it's basically like this. Could you share with us and what Source is, and goes from there, and also including your background. Sorry about that.
So Source has been a long time in the making, if the conception time counts. I came up with the idea for Source for about a decade ago when I was doing research. So by training, I'm a researcher. I studied history of art and archaeology, and I've been working as a provenance researcher for the past almost 14 years now. And I have a business partner with whom we run Angelina Giovani Art Provenance Research. So me and Tom, we do a lot of research for collectors, the art trade, museums, whenever they are primarily either there's a transaction in art going on, or if the museums are going through an acquisition process and they're looking to buy certain pieces for their collections, and we do the documentation of their ownership history. So, which is what provenance research is. And it is a kind of job that you cannot really do from the desktop. You can start from the desktop. You locate your sources and you figure out what your methodology is going to be, but you can't really do. In 9 out of 10 times, you cannot do an exhaustive research from your desktop. So you need to hit the archives, the libraries, the various repositories, and like every PhD student will know that there's no such thing as writing. Not to imply that every research that we do is like a PhD, which is absolutely not. But sometimes it takes months and months to complete, and that is because there's a discovery process, and then we need to physically be able to get to the archives and libraries around the world. And to be honest, that is more often than not the case.
Yes, and I would also the funding. We also need funding, and funding is limited.
Absolutely.
Sometimes is unavailable.
It's not even hard when you do it for yourself. It's also hard when you do it on behalf of a client, because you need to justify expenses, and if you're going to another continent, it's a really expensive flight, accommodation, other expenses, and then you need to familiarize yourself with the archives and libraries or the material you're going to see, which might not even be in a language that you're familiar with. So mostly people who are every day locally at the archives are going to be more productive and more efficient than a visiting person who is only there for a few days in retrieving information. So I kept thinking, why do I need to go, even though I'd love to go to, to Argentina, to get this bit of information when I'm certain there's someone already sitting there that has access to this material. So this was the fundamental behind Source. It's like Uber, but for information.
Sure.
So you download the app, it's free to sign up, and you enter a title or a reference or the name of an archive that you are trying to access, and Source will then match you with users who are on location, and they can be your research assistant. based on what you need. So if you were to have, we're in London, and if you were to have a research assistant in London, they would have the same access I have. So I could just go, and you can't really hire a research assistant everywhere in the world full time. So it's basically to facilitate access to repositories that are not digitized, they're not online, they remain printed, and you hire a research assistant in the real life based on their credentials, and on source you just hire them based on the access that they have and you don't.
And that's exactly what she said, is like an Uber for researchers.
I really hope Uber doesn't mind me name dropping them all the time.
I don't think that
it's just such an apt description. In October we had a presentation. We did like a pitch of the app to like a small group in like an art tech conference.
Okay.
And I didn't mention the word Uber. I had like 2 minutes to give a pitch. And this girl came to me in the break and she goes, "So it's like Uber for information." And I'm like, yeah.
So it came from the audience then.
And no, I mean, it came from the audience, but also it is exactly the term I had been using before.
Yes.
So the fact that somebody was able to just get it and use that same reference, it just convinced me that that is the best reference to use. So we're sticking with it. We don't really like put it in writing. That's like Uber for information, because also we don't want to be misleading, but it is like Uber for information.
No, I think it's just a great buzzword, because it's inherited across all of us. When you hear, instead of saying, "Oh, we're gonna grab a taxi," it was since, okay, I'm just gonna put on my app called the Uber, and that's it. But then you said, for going to source is essentially like a networking hub where you connect with other people who are in your specific field and the thing that you specifically need. So it would be essential. I've been checking around here, just playing around, and from what we spoke last week, that you are borrowing knowledge, so to speak, from a researcher, and you're requesting his services.
Yeah.
As if it was a freelancer. Right?
Yes, that is the principle. So basically you decide how long the job would take you to complete, and you decide what your rate is. And there's instances where somebody might need to verify a footnote, and you just need to check the certain page for them and show them this is what it says on this page. Might or might not be what you're looking for. And it is all within fair use and copyright restrictions. So nothing is published. No one pays for content. We don't keep any copies of document exchange. They go directly from end user to end user, because I'm a researcher and I know how it works. We know that confidentiality is really important, and academia in the same way. I mean, it's made to serve the community, not to create obstacles or issues. So people don't get paid for content. People get paid for their time, the same way that if you hire a research assistant in real life, that they've been a student or somebody you don't say, "Oh, I'm going to pay you this much if you bring me this much content." You'll say, "Okay, I'll pay you this much per hour, and this is a research task that you have to do."
Of course.
So yes, you hire someone, and then only this week, as part of my ongoing research, I have needed things from, even in London, locations I couldn't get to. And we're looking to get some information from New York, from colleagues there. And it has just been so much more efficient than just having to plan a trip to an archive and postpone your research by weeks or months. So I am very excited. It's very self-serving. I built this because I needed it, and it's a shared need. Everyone that I know that does research at one point or another has had the struggle of, how do I access this information? I really need to go here. I really need to go there. I've emailed the archive and it's been 2 months and I haven't heard back. So they're very common obstacles.
Yeah. And I think also with the archive, because it's so much bureaucracy, they have so much emails to reply. They won't be able to reply to one single person to get that specific volume.
Yeah.
And I think with Source, as you said, that comes into play into aiding researchers and students.
Yeah.
At the same time earning from that. So
Yes.
I'd like, we can go there from a bit further, but I'd like to ask this question because you said you had this implant since 2016, 10 years ago, right?
Even more, yes.
And even more. I wonder if where your inspiration from it came from, besides of what you said before.
Yeah.
In a world where nowadays we have AI, most of us rely to AI, and as a fun fact, as you said, I was hearing a podcast yesterday where you were a guest and you were telling description of
I see.
AI. We can we'll go on that on what the podcast name is, but you know it already.
Yes.
I was wondering would you describe this?
There's the art world and the tech world loves throwing solutions to us.
Yes.
And, a few years ago, it was like, oh, blockchain is going to revolutionize provenance research. And everyone in provenance research was like, no, it's not. And it didn't. It makes zero difference in my work or the outcomes. And it's the same for AI. And this is not just in provenance research, but it's across all research disciplines.
Yeah.
You cannot trust a reference or that AI gives you. There's a lot of issues with it. First is how much it hallucinates. I mean, it will give you a result, and then if you keep poking at it and testing it, it will kind of change the story. But at the same time, even if it is fed with the digitized material that exists on the internet, the digitized content that's come out of libraries and archives is less than 25% globally combined.
Wow.
And that is not equally distributed across the developed world that can afford to, put money towards digitization initiatives. So there's part of the world that nothing is digitized in the archives. So you don't even know what's in there. So if you don't have access to a catalog for a collection or a group of, papers or correspondence or whatever it is, how is AI going to know what's in it?
Yeah.
So it will give you any answer you want. If you ask it something, it will give you an answer. Doesn't mean you should use it. And we have had many cases in the past 6 months where we've looked at material references and you start looking into them properly for like 5 minutes and you're like, this is not a real reference. It looks like it could be from a Berlin archive, but turns out it's not. And sometimes you can even prove this by taking an answer that ChatGPT has given you and putting it into Claude and then asking Grok to verify, and all three of them contradict each other. So it is not worth risking anyone's, academic reputation for a shortcut that actually no one really needs.
Sure.
So when I sat down with the developers to discuss Source and, how it works, none of the content that's generated that the user gets is AI content, because we don't ask them to summarize, to write essays, they need to provide hard evidence. It's a primary documentation. You went to the archive, you checked this material from 1820. I don't want a synopsis. I want a picture or a scan or a photocopy of this material that, will go. It's for study purposes, because if you were to need it for publication, for example, you cannot get those rights from Source. You need to go back to the holding institution and get the licensing permits and, do everything properly. It's a referencing tool. So it will not imagine what it can do. There is a level on the back where we use some AI to identify repositories. So it's basically like a Google check on steroids, where you give it a title and it can say it's in this place, it's in that place, it's in this place, based on online catalogs that are already there. But things that are not online, we are doing that manually. We are matching people manually.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As I tend to see it, the whole point of a presentation is to make your audience see something that they didn't see before, right? And hopefully in a profound way, because if it's just an easy announcement that's not difficult to explain, why not just send a simple email or write a short memo about it? So the whole point of making a presentation or preparing a larger piece of communication is to make your audience see something that they didn't see before. And that means that means a couple of steps that are immediately derived from that. First of all, you need clarity about what is that actually? What do I need them to see? And you'd be surprised to learn how few people, not exclusively, but particularly in the science community, wouldn't be able to say that, to give a concise answer to that. So what is it that you actually want your audience to see? So, and once you've nailed that or have clarity for yourself what that is, you can ask the second question. So why don't they see it already? What do they see? What do they see that I don't? And what do they miss that I see already? And once you have that, you can kind of build a path between those 2 points. And the ultimate goal of a presentation is to lead them to what I would call the point of no return, which would probably coincide with that aha moment where you've told them everything that helps them really see what you wanted to make them see, where there is no going back for them because they've seen it in a way that they cannot unsee it anymore, and where it makes total sense because you've explained it in a way that makes sense using words that they can understand, using images and metaphors that they are familiar with.
Yes, something that is more exactly. It's more something that they are more familiar with. Something that is more common as they've seen, whether on TV or on YouTube. Something, in a sense, it's more of a touristic point of view. It's kind of like when they go to an event, they're attending a speaker. And you feel like I'm a tourist here and I want to hear what you have to say. And then something comes up and they say something that sparks them and I say, aha, that's what I want to know. And so basically,
and that is that is a great approach. And that is so starkly different to what most people do. So most people, when I ask them how they would go about preparing a presentation, they tell me similar things. They first of all, they'd start with a presentation that they've already given a couple of weeks ago. And then they fill up all the other details that have come up since. And so until they discover, whoa, that's way too much information for 25 minutes. And then they start cutting and it's still too much. And so basically they have that problem of overwhelming their audience because there are so many things that are interesting and great and fascinating about my field, which makes sense. I mean, you're doing a PhD about it. You're researching 5 years on it. Of course, there's more interesting things to say about it than you've got time to say it.
Yes.
But that approach that you've outlined is a very different approach, where you basically turn that upside down and you don't even bother about all the things that you can say, but only ask yourself, what is that one thing that makes that tourist look over, come closer, and think to themselves, well, that is interesting. I want to know more about that.
Sure.
And so getting clarity and starting there. So what is that one thing? And often it's really literally one thing only.
So in that case, it would we would have to use our own networking skills and then to consult other people who have that restricted access to those specific sources that are not they're not open to the public.
And there's a few ways we are doing this. Like when you sign up, you'll see in the app where it says resources. You can go and you can update your resources. So for example, if you're in Swansea, but you might move and you might go to Bath and might go to London, and you then update the what you have access to. You'll say, I'm in London, I have access to the National Archives at Kew, or the British Library, or the National Art Library. So I can accept jobs from those locations. But at the same time, if you have a big collection at home that might be specialized, especially if you're doing a PhD, you tend to have a niche of topics. You can scan the ISBNs of those books and you can become a searchable repository of that material. Again, just because you bought a book doesn't mean that you have to break the fair use and the copyright use. If you have a book that says, no parts of it are reproducible at all, you can't do it. And if somebody just wants to know a reference, you might have to handwrite it if it's 2-3 sentences, or transcribe it, or find a way to not break the law. Sure. But so far, I have about 500 books at home. So every time I go by the shelf, I scan 5, and every time I go past, I scan another 5. And it's valuable because I have auction catalogs, and there's other people in the other users that have uploaded hundreds of auction catalogs.
Wow.
That otherwise you'd have to go, across 4 or 5 locations to check 3-4 references. So it's only been out for a month, but it's very, for me, as someone who's not really a tech person, and I don't come from the startup tech world. I come from the depth of the archives. It's not been without challenges, but it's really rewarding to see that people can see the benefits and the use of what you've built.
Yeah.
It's been great. I think there's over 120 users as of today in over 100 locations.
I know today's April Fool's, but is it really accurate?
Yes, it is. I can show you. Oh, I can show you. Wait.
No, I was just...
I can.
Cheesy. Go on.
There's currently 122 users. Even though now I have disclosed how dirty my screen is. So no, it's great because it just goes to show, and the way people use it has been really interesting.
Sure.
We have cases of people wanting very specific things, and we've had instances of people saying, can you go into this archive and check this file to see if there is any mention of this person? So, it's not just a copying job. A lot of it is, a proper compiling research information job.
No, I think it's spot on, because it's helping other people who don't have the access, and then just they go in that. And besides books, does it also work with any other sources, such as a scientific article?
It can be anything. It can be anything. It's important to point out that the goal of the app is to access physical material.
Yeah.
So no one in the app is allowed, for example, to request something that is only on JSTOR. You cannot.
You can't do anything that is electronically.
Yes, because it already exists in electronic form, and that is not the gap we're trying to fill.
Yeah.
So, if JSTOR is there, you can go get a day pass at JSTOR or pay for the article and download it. The option is there. So, for someone at Source who uses their camera to take pictures of the archives and create files, it's not the modus operandi you need.
Yeah.
So it's not there to compete with digital services that already facilitate access to information. It's there to help you get access to offline things.
Sure.
That you cannot access otherwise. And it goes to say, if an archive has digitized a material, there's no reason you should pay a researcher on Source. You can just go on their website and find it. But you can look for articles, you can look for magazines, journals from the past, newspapers, if they're not, again, in the UK, we have the British Newspaper Archive, and it's an amazing resource. But when I was mentioning it to a neighbor a few months ago, she's like, ooh, she goes, I used to have this, she said, my mom used to have this Martha Stewart, I don't know what it's called, like Home Living magazine or something. And she said it had like this amazing best recipe for a cake. And I'm like, she's like, if I give you the kind of the year, can you figure out that, can you find that magazine? And I was like, this is the most random thing. Probably we can.
Okay.
But, because you start from an academic point of view and a research point of view, and then you realize that people are curious about all sorts of things, whether it is like a comic book that has gone out of circulation and you haven't seen in forever, or whether it is a leaflet that a museum published for an exhibition many years ago, or whether it is correspondence that, somebody might have as part of a family collection that you cannot access. They can come into source and connect to us as institutional providers. So we are now in the process of partnering with small archives, small collectors who have material that people don't even know where it is. And so they can make it searchable through source.
So they opened up themselves and then said, let's work with you.
Yes. We're doing our first institutional partner next week, and they're a photographic archive, which are very important for the art market. And it's a tool I have used for the past 5 years, at least in my research. And it's very valuable to people doing my line of work. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be very excited that they're more accessible.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Moreover, writing feedback also pushes the supervisor to communicate better with the student if they write it in an oriented-based way, in the sense that it has to be professional and academic, which teaches the student to figure out a different approach to address the argument, reflecting too if the supervisor discusses the feedback verbally with the student. The more feedback the supervisor gives in a research proposal, but from an oriented-based, as well as balanced and constructive perspective, the more the student is likely to engage with and figure out alternative ways to address the academic gap while writing the research proposal effectively to submit it afterwards.
And I, myself included, because I'm trying to play it around. And again, as I said, I still need to update my
Stripe.
The Stripe account.
Yes.
And I just need to work around it. I played with it last week.
Okay.
And just for me, it's a bit difficult for now.
Yeah. I think the more you populate it, the more matches you are going to get. If you're not getting direct matches, you can always go to the Explore page and you can see all the jobs that have been posted.
Okay.
That are open.
And then how, in that case, both providers and requesters, they can be interchangeable. So they can request, but at the same time they can provide.
Absolutely.
Then how can then use source and then to establish a rate per hour? How do they do that?
So there's a few ways. When you go to your profile, it will say your rate per request.
Okay.
And this is the fixed rate that you will charge people for access to your personal library.
Sure.
And then it's the same for if you say you are at the V&A or a National Arts Library or somewhere, and you're like, this is my rate per request. But on the other hand, because I am very much aware that a lot of the people on the other side of the jobs are going to be students, we didn't want to set our own rate for what you can charge or what you cannot charge or what you can offer. So we have left it that when you post a job, you can set your own rate. You can set a range and you can say, I'm willing to pay between 15 and 25 pounds to get this information. Okay. And you post it out there. It will match with you if you have access to the resource, and you can decide in case it comes below your rate if you want to take it, because maybe it doesn't take that long to complete.
Sure.
Or you don't have to, because if you're not willing to do it, but in that way, you kind of let the market dictate its terms. You cannot make it completely prohibitive price-wise to students who could, there's an option where you can upload your like the references of an article that you're reading to check them. And you can, if you upload the references, Source will generate them into jobs, into draft jobs. And when you're ready, you can publish them and you can say, well, I just want between £3 and £4 per request. And maybe a seasoned senior researcher might not pick it up, but a fellow student who's at the library might pick it up. And, it's the equivalent of, doing a part-time job for a few hours. And you can do this basically without leaving the library. And you can just, keep doing your thing and help me out as well and help you out as well.
Yeah, it feels like an interesting side hustle, and nowadays we use that terminology.
Yeah.
And for the students themselves, okay, it would be really interesting to know how students would get some access to those restricted resources. So say for example, I used to go on research trips to Oxford University. Some of the volumes that I had access didn't exist on the Internet Archive. Right. If I knew about Source if it was for quite a while, probably I would have done it and say, okay, I can try to do this. We would need a special permission request, from the Sackler library, and then if they would grant me, then I would need to scan, not just taking a simple picture. Or this has to be all professional, or a student can just take a simple picture and then send it over to.
It can. First of all, it depends whatever is allowed.
Yes.
From the library. If it says no flash photography, it's no flash photography. We had somebody complete a job yesterday in Vienna.
Okay.
And they just scanned actually the book. It wasn't the whole book. The question was, can you check the index?
Okay.
See if this name is mentioned and just show me what it says about that name. Okay. So it wasn't a whole book request. Yeah. It was a few pages, and it was just that. As a rule, I would say, unless you know for sure something is outside of copyright, don't go scanning a whole book. It's very silly.
Yes.
Because, the point of it is not to replace people buying books. I mean, I buy books on average 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
Because first of all, I love buying a book. I just cannot help myself. It's like my idea of going shopping. I'm going to read that. That sounds great. And I know a lot of people who are publishing books, who are colleagues. I always buy those books, So the goal is not to keep people from buying books. The goal is to make sure that the book you're buying, in a way, you actually need it. Yeah. I remember as an art student, and I'm sure you know this, they are terribly expensive art books. I want them, but if I only need 2 sentences in the book, it might not be worth me spending €200 on it.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about, the student economy and the fact that, the cost of living is high and books are terribly expensive. And, the number of students having part-time jobs while they're studying is the highest it's ever been. And the number of students buying used books or sharing books is also the highest it's ever been. Like the number of students buying brand new textbooks, it's less than 20%.
Yeah.
So we did all this research, before, when we were doing the feasibility study for the app. So the goal is not to keep people from buying books. The goal is to keep people buying as many books as possible that they actually need. But if you're doing a PhD, as I'm sure you know, you are not going to buy every single book you come across.
Yes. And you won't be able to consult every single book as well.
No. So if during your research, what you can do is create them as draft jobs on Source. You don't have to post them. And then, I don't know, once every 2 weeks, you're like, okay, these are the references I'm going to follow. Mm-hmm. And those are the ones that you actually follow through Source, rather than checking, buying everything, or even on Source. I mean, as a researcher, I know for a fact it's not a good idea to just go, if you have 5 resources today you need to go check them all today and then go back tomorrow. It makes sense to compile a list, a reference, and then once you have enough, you can have 1 or 2 field days, research days, and then you go out and, do your library day or your archive day. So it's a good study management tool, and it's a good way for, students to monetize their time in the library by helping someone who cannot get there.
Yes. And receive some commission in the process.
Yeah.
But I think that obviously we live in the world with money, and everyone needs money, of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. But to take that as a side, but at the same time, you are helping someone who may have also similar research interests. I'm speaking from the PhD context, and students must help each other, and using source will be a valuable tool for anyone who wants to get into this type of field, whether you're a PhD, whether what your current job is.
Yeah. And
we are winning on both sides.
I believe so. I mean, even in this first month, and it hasn't been a whole month yet, it will be by the 16th, I think we announced that we are live. The way it has simplified certain research tasks for me has been really great, because if I know for a fact this is a material I need, I don't have to spend the time wondering how to get there. I can just post it on source and then see if there's takers. If there's no takers, maybe I'm going to consider, because if there's people in the area but they're not picking up the job, then I need to consider, is someone else using the material and it's not available? Or is it I'm offering too little and it's not worth someone's time? So you can just delete that request and then create a new request to allow people to,
Sure.
So I don't see how it can hurt. I'm very excited to see it work. The first job that someone completed, I was watching it like it was breaking news. I was so excited to see it all, because in the back end we can see the app responses. So if you clicked post a job, the job appears, and if somebody bids on it, we can see the bid, and if somebody accepts it, we can see the accept. So it was so invigorating. I mean, it was, because you test the app, but it's seeing other people use it without you being involved is actually quite great. Seeing them figure it out. So yeah, it's been a really intense first month, but really good.
Have you tried it yourself?
Oh my God, yes.
So it's more for like a 24/7 then.
Oh yes, I'm never off it. My husband jokes that it is like my new baby monitor.
Okay. Wow.
When I first had my baby, you kind of go everywhere with your baby monitor, and now I'm going everywhere looking at the dashboard. It's quite addictive. But it's really exciting. You don't know what's going to appear next. You don't know what somebody needs access to or where they're based, or it's really fascinating.
So since you use yourself, which volume or a specific provenance research you requested?
I requested some correspondence between an artist and one of the patrons of the artist, an inventory of a collection that was in France, which was very exciting because I got it within 24 hours. The person was just at the right library. The person was actually at the library when the job went live. So I was like, divine intervention. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted somebody to be like, oh, I'm already here. Let me claim that job. Amazing. And I posted something for here in London that I couldn't get to, and someone was already there, and I got it like within less than 48 hours.
That's
so. And you can get on doing all your other things, while somebody just like does this part of the research for you, and then you just get to integrate it into your big body of work. that you still need to humanly put together, and just compose and make sure it's right, and never run it through AI. So
Never.
I like it. I like that it is countercultural. Everything seems to be going the AI way, how to make everything the most efficient and how to make everything faster. And some things we don't need to make faster by very much, and we don't need to reinvent. And I'm going to trust the human source 100 times over a computer.
And I agree with you in this point, because it's ironic to say this, that everything that comes something new, it's going to revolutionize everything. We were saying before that you said that the
blockchain,
the blockchain, and they're gonna tear apart the art historians and the art market researchers. No, it's not gonna. But I mean, I think from a historical perspective, AI can help to take a simple doubt, and we sometimes have to question that, to challenge that doubt, and with the answers that we have, it just seems it's unsustainable if you rely on it 100%. But it can have some benefits to some extent. But for a deep research, as we were talking here, no, it's merely for you have to be AI.
Look, I'm not.
AI won't.
No, I agree.
AI won't replace the years of training we gather as art historians, ancient historians, archaeologists, etc.
And not to be a purist and say there's no place for AI in the world. I mean, I use it to do things I don't want to do.
Yes.
The other day I just gave it a spreadsheet, and I was like, make sure that all the rows, all the columns add up and they're correct. I don't care about Excel. I want things to be right, but I'm not the kind of person who's going to get excited over an Excel spreadsheet. Or sometimes I write a big text and I'm like, I'll drop it all in there and say, please check for typos because it's 2 a.m. and I'm exhausted. Do things that don't really, help me out. You don't have to do my job for me. You can't do it better than I do it, my job, and that's true. The fact for most people, but help me. Help enhance certain areas of it.
Just having the due diligence, essentially.
Just check.
And this is also becomes a problem in students themselves, and they proudly say, and I've seen it here on YouTube and in interviews as well. Oh, I thank ChatGPT for doing the thing, for doing my assignment. This is in undergraduate level. Yeah, and I was hearing this and hearing in talks with some of my colleagues in university when I was assisting them on the teaching, and say, why are you doing this? Because you guys gonna use this. You're gonna use AI to do the whole assessment of 2,000 words. We gonna catch you anyways, because
100%.
The text isn't clear. It's not at your own language. And two, here at Swansea University, and I think across the UK universities in general, we have an AI tool called Turnitin.
Oh yes, I had Turnitin in my day when I was at uni a long time ago.
So that we are able to detect whether this was AI. And I'd like to share a story with you as well on this, because when I was tutoring art history of portraiture and all the images were from the Courtauld Gallery.
Yeah.
I had one pupil that he wrote in AI, but at the same time, that pupil was honest in saying, due to some personal issues, I had to use AI.
To write, okay.
And then I gave the feedback and say, look, I appreciate your honesty that you used this. I didn't mark it, and I understand. I have the empathy to say, well, I understand that issue, but as a caution, from this day forward, please do not use this if you're going to university, because we will catch you.
I agree.
and the pupil will say, okay. And then on the next day, it was the resubmission of his assessment, and he had a great mark. So
yeah, I mean, look, this There's always ways to be crafty. If anything, he won himself a few more time to write it. But it could have gone either way. Someone else could have said, "Yeah, I don't ask for an extension, but you can't. You're not allowed to use AI." Yes. It just, yeah. I mean, it's not supposed to make people lazier. It's supposed to make people more efficient. Mm-hmm. And I think this is where one of the key issues that arises is there's part of human creativity and like human responsibility that you have to do. Somebody, like when a client comes to us, they want Tom and myself to do the research. They can pick any researcher they want. So if they come to you, it means that they trust you to do the best job at something.
Yeah.
So you cannot take that trust that is put into your many decades. And, Tom has had a much longer career than I have, and he's so incredibly widely respected in the art world. People know that, they're not going to come to us with a request and then we're going to get ChatGPT to research it. Sometimes we have this long brainstorming sessions because Tom is based in Eastbourne, and we do a lot of Zoom calls to brainstorm about research cases. And sometimes we'll go on Zoom for 2-3 hours talking about a case, and then it'll be like, let's ask ChatGPT. Let's see what it knows. And it's like, okay, great, it knows nothing. We already knew that. So it's, I'm like, okay, great. Thank you for telling us nothing. Very helpful. But yeah, it's good for like, it's really good for if you have like something that's handwritten and you cannot make out the handwriting. Like if you need help transcribing something in a foreign language, if you upload a picture to like any of the AI bots, they'll most likely figure it out.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just great. I don't want to go blind trying to decipher handwriting that makes no sense to me in a language I don't know. So if the AI can help me do that, that is very good use for it. But just everything within its own like limits, like it needs to be kept under check regularly.
Yes. And I agree on that point. And just having a 50-50 in this case, let's say use more 90% of the brain, 10% on AI technology, so to speak.
Yes. And if you're lucky enough and you have 90% of your brain working all the time, you don't need anything.
So going back to Source, did you have any IT issues before?
I wouldn't call them issues per se. It was just different areas of knowledge.
Right.
You come up with an idea and you're like, how hard can it be to put it together? And turns out it's quite hard. If I have a research problem, I know how to solve it, even if I cannot solve it myself and I need to consult another expert or a fellow colleague who I know might have more expertise in a certain area. I can do that very confidently. But when it comes to putting together an app, I don't know. I didn't know more than there's a backend and there's a UI. And, I'm like, how hard can it be? So, I kept throwing things at them. Thankfully, the IT team I work with, they're incredible. They're really good. I mean, they got it right away. But again, I just kept throwing things like, let's do this and let's do that and how about this? And then you come to the realization that, it's like tens of thousands line of code for every time anything you might think is a good idea. So they're very good at reining me back and like, being like having like a staggered approach. And I quite like things to be perfect. Like, I thought that once the app goes out, that the app can only go out when it's perfect.
Yeah.
And final. And from the developers to my friends to everyone said, there's no such thing as a perfect app that you'll never need to. That's why people do updates. That's why you get updates on apps, because you're constantly adding features or feeding or fixing bugs or getting feedback and inputting those. So yeah, at times I'll open when we were still in the testing phase, I would open it and I'm like, I don't think it's doing anything today. And then I'd speak to them and I'd explain, oh, well, we're doing X, Y, Z. And, this is what happens. And we were expecting this. And I started feeling like it's my baby, but they kind of know my baby better.
So mostly of the technical side. Okay, I have a brother and I have a sister who can nan my baby, and then the rest of the literacy. No, this is mine. So this is, I don't know. So.
Look, I think it's, for me, it's been like a very good learning curve, because you learn how to adjust your expectations and you kind of start getting a sense of what is feasible, what is not, what is okay, what isn't. Like, you learn to sort of curb your emotions. Not everything is tragic or not everything is amazing. It's very much a work in process. Yeah. And, I see even on their side, it's when we did the first job, they were so excited that we did the first job, and they tried to, get the word out and help users like in other countries use it. So I'm very happy, and it makes me feel comfortable in the fact that I know that like the infrastructure is in good hands, and I'm now just focusing on the development side of things, bringing more users, making sure that there are jobs for people to fulfill, making sure that what they ask for, we have people who can retrieve them. So we do a lot of manual reach out. We send hundreds of emails a day to students, PhD students, researchers. They're all one by one personalized emails that we send out and invite them to use Source.
Yeah.
Because the more people there are, again, the more supply and the more demand. And it's a marketplace. So you kind of need both at the same time. If you only have demand, but you don't have supply, it's not good. But you have supply and no jobs, it's again, not good. So yeah, it's fine. This is not the kind of app that was going to go viral overnight. It's not a social media app or, it's kind of a niche. It's a very useful app that I think all of the students would benefit from it. But we are being patient and trying to make sure that at any point in time, no matter how people are on the app, that they are satisfied, rather than rushing to onboard like thousands of people.
Yeah.
So we're much more focused on like all the users being organic and them having actual needs and actual access, so that you get a real sense of what is feasible in it.
Yeah, and I do think, again, as we keep saying, that it will be a great app for the long run. And are there any updates you constantly thinking about on how am I going to improve the accessibility to Source? Will you include any novelties for the app for long term?
I don't think that at the moment we are making any major changes. I think we initially contemplated having a chat in it so that the users can speak to each other, but the app is rated for people also younger than 16 can use it. Yeah. And we are very much aware about having moderation in those conversations so that we don't allow inappropriate content or anything to circulate. So there's no chat currently, which means that we're mediating the conversations. When somebody posts a job, there's a job description there that they can be as detailed as they need to. And the person who claims the job, they can also respond to that job request. And if there's further information needed, then we have people on the team who are happy to sort of mediate both sides. But even when people are on the app, we don't disclose their identity. So you get your first name and the first initial of your surname. Again, for better privacy and for better user experience. So I'm not sure if we expect. Currently, we use Stripe. I believe very soon we will also integrate PayPal, that has more reach globally than Stripe does in more parts of the world. Whenever the boy says it's ready, it will be ready. I'm not pushing them. I know that they know it's something we're doing. So, I know it's on their list. But yeah, we're just trying to get I like getting good stories out of it. I like people telling me that, oh, I've been doing this research and I was struggling to get information. And then I got this thing on through source and then it sent me on a completely different path. As a researcher, I love a good research story. So eventually I think we've launched a Substack.
Okay.
That my colleague Amelia is primarily authoring, and we're hoping that in the future, when there's more jobs, we can get users who have completed jobs and had good research journeys tell us how source helped them out. But yes, because we're too new, we're just trying to make sure that what we have works fine and works smoothly for everyone. And I think it's a bit premature to just already plan the next update. I think if there's a massive demand for something to change, or if there's a request, we're going to consider it. But I think currently it covers all the ground that we initially set out for it to cover.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll see.
And I think it will be something positive for the upcoming
I hope so.
For this coming month.
I hope so. We are going to send a newsletter at the end on once it's been a month that the app has been live, just to give everyone a sense of the community we're building and the jobs that we've completed and where. But yeah, we today we put out a call. We're looking for researchers in Japan.
Wow.
So if you have any friends in Japan, or if you have any...
I actually do.
Brilliant. Well, if you can...
Well, he's not in the... He's more STEM. He's a chemist.
Okay.
So that could be used.
I mean, look, it doesn't matter because I think in one of the projects that is coming through, that we need access to something in Japan, they just need to retrieve a file from 100 years ago and just tell us what it says. Okay. So yeah, great. Happy I mentioned it. We're also looking for people in Latin America. So yeah, hopefully. Where are most of your listeners? Are they in the UK?
So the top ones are of course United States, and then I have second place would be the UK, and Germany, Spain, and then I have a few others from Japan, of my home country in Portugal, and Latin American countries as well. But I haven't checked the latest update of PhD Lounge in terms of.
Where the demographic.
Yeah, but and now you've just awakened my curiosity of checking.
Yes, go find out. Go find out where the people are. But yeah, I mean, I've been in research for so long, and again, there's parts in the world we don't have colleagues in because we've never had research really on that part of the world. So yeah. Places like, I don't know, Russia, it's hard to get to now. It's hard to get to Russia for research. And, parts of Africa are very hard to get to, but are also, we don't know what the catalogs have because they're not digitized. So, there's a lot of challenges to research, and, Source is not going to solve all of them, but hopefully it can just solve a good part of them. And I'll be happy with that.
Yeah. And I think that, again, there's going to be... It's going to be a positive thing in the upcoming months.
Well, do let me know when you use it.
No, of course. I need to play it around a bit more so that I could get used to it. Because from our first conversation when we had, there is a specific volume. It's a series of articles, and it's in ancient history. It's about. Migrations in the Middle East, specifically in Syria. Okay. So yeah, that is what I'm looking for. But I need to check it out.
Is it in English, the original language?
Yes, it's in English. Well, the publisher is German, but it's a series of scholars. They're non-British, but everything is written in English. Okay. And I can have a look around and check if where's the ISBN, and then try to looking for this article. So,
I mean, I'm sure anyone on Source is happy to help if they have legal access to it.
So besides Source, do you have any other apps that you've worked on or
We don't have another app. I do run an online academy.
Yes.
Which is on training people who want to become provenance researchers. So we have courses in provenance research, in specifically in doing research in the antiquities world.
What's the name of it?
It's called the Art Market Academy. I'm so bad at promoting stuff. Thank you. I'm like, I have an academy. You don't need to know the name of it. It is what it does. Yes, it's called the Art Market Academy, and all courses. We launched this during COVID.
Okay.
And historically, now it's a lot better, but the resources and trainings in provenance research have not been the most easy to come across. 9 out of 10 times you need, depending on where you are in the world, you need to travel on location to go to, to attend the course. When I was getting my training, there was nothing online. So I had, I traveled around quite a bit to follow where the workshops were. And then during COVID, things came to a standstill. And I thought, well, this is a good time. I'm stuck at home anyway. Let's just and they're all pre-recorded. They are subtitled in, I think, over 15 languages now. And one of the greatest benefits is, first of all, again, you don't have the travel, you don't have the accommodation expenses. You can pay in installments to cater to students. And because it's pre-recorded, you can take it anytime you want. Yeah. So you can be in Australia, you can be in China, you can be in LA, and you can take the course at any time. It's not meant, it's not an experiential thing. It doesn't replace the experience of traveling somewhere if you want for training or education, or, you get so much more. But if you have limited options and you really want training, you can get it. And it's been great. We've had people from first year at university to people in their 70s who are collectors and want to research their own collections, taking the course. We've had, moms who would not be able to, have busy lives and would not be able to take time off to travel abroad. And it's great. So everybody completes their course at their own pace, and then they can reach out and get in touch with me or the other instructors to figure out if they have questions, if they want a Zoom call. We do those on request one-to-one. The course never expires. So once you get it, you have it forever.
Right.
And then at the end, we do like a career session. Where someone finishes it and then they tell us, why they took it, what they're trying to achieve, what their questions are. And then we managed to get them, we just managed to get them to see if there's work opportunities or if there's people who we know are hiring. But a lot of the people who have taken the academy and want work experience, we do give them internships.
Okay, interesting.
So if they have certain areas of interest, either we'll keep them on file and see when a case comes by that they can work on, or if they want more general experience, we try to accommodate. But yeah, we have a really long list of interns who are very eager to fulfill jobs and get research experience. So we've created a bit of an ecosystem where, you can get the training, you can get the work experience, and then if you want to work for other people, you can just check out opportunities on Source and get more work experience.
Wow! So it's all the courses are structured in different sequences, and then do they have a mock exam?
There's 3 courses currently. So there's an introduction to provenance research, and it's quite a basic course to let you know if this is the kind of thing you'd enjoy doing.
Yes.
And then there's a how-to course, which is basically, it tells you how to assess risk in provenance, what tools we use. And there's almost all case studies are from my personal work. So it's not the kind of information that they would get anywhere else. And then there's an antiquities course that is taught by a different professor, by Christos Sirianis. And that one has a final exam, and not an easy final exam. But yes, it's it's the kind of thing that there's constant interest on any one of the courses at any point in time, and then there's seasonal periods where either it's the beginning of the year and somebody has a resolution to learn more about something, or it's the beginning of summer and people are more free from their usual academic workload. So yes, again, it launched in 2022, I want to say. And we've had hundreds of people take the course.
Wow.
So it's cool. It's very cool. I have a very good network of students and of colleagues who share the same interest. So it's not a lonely work.
Do they reach to you, or you reached out to them after they take the course?
I do tend to check in.
Okay.
Or if somebody's taking a really long time completing the course, I just remind them that they haven't completed the course and that they should. But yeah, there's the odd person that completes the course and I never hear from them. They just, they're not interested in career advice. They just wanted to get the experience and run with it. So yeah, all sorts of people. I had someone who was in their late 70s and he took the course, and then we've spoken like 5 times since, because he's trying to do some research on his own collection. And yeah, we're just helping them along the way. And obviously we don't charge for that. So it's great. It's a good thing when you give people the research bug.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you give them the tools and the trainings and they love them doing their own research. And it's like, it's not great for our work, because sometimes I'm like, great, we are training all these people. They're going to do their own work and we're not going to get as much work because people are doing their own research. But, for me, it's not fun to check databases on people's behalf.
Sure.
It's not my idea of research. I want to solve a mystery. If I can teach you 10 things that you can do before ever coming to us, I'm very happy to do that. Yeah. There's no value in gatekeeping basic resources.
Yes, that's true.
So, the more educated people are about what they're looking at and how to decipher information and, how to assess risk. Like if you look at the provenance and you don't have the names, the ability to understand, okay, well, I don't have a name in 1939 is more dangerous than not having a name of an owner in 1812, historically. So it's great seeing people become excited about doing their own research and just, getting on with it themselves.
Yes, and that's why I think what students, they must be encouraged to do so.
Yeah.
So you also appeared as a guest lecturer in several universities. And including in podcasts. We were talking about the podcast. Yeah. I was doing it yesterday, and we were talking about the AI, where you said you've asked exhaustively a question about a provenance study you were conducting, and you asked several questions to the to AI, and the AI just completely stopped and said, I have no more to engage with you. And I checked the podcast. This is all about art. And it was really interesting to hear about it.
I was thinking of another podcast. Okay.
Yes, I know you also appeared on another show as well. And I forgot completely.
The Arcarta one. Yes.
The Arcarta one. If you had to choose either one of the podcasts you were featured in as a guest, or the university guest lecture. Which one would you choose, or which one did you find most interesting to interact with?
Look, I love being on a podcast, even though I do find them rather stressful. But I love being in a classroom.
Yes.
And it's primarily because, our conversations and in podcasts are quite general.
Yeah.
But when we're doing the lectures, we go really deep in research, and I love that, and you see people have like a light bulb moment. They come in the classroom knowing close to nothing about a topic, and then they come out at the other end with so many questions. Or I teach some of the V&A courses that are on topics like thefts from the museums or fake and forgeries or, the history of the art market, and you get very diverse audiences. And I do prefer a in-person lecture with a group to a podcast. And this will be my last podcast. No one will ever invite me to anything again. Like, great, she doesn't want to come. That's fine.
Okay, well, I have nothing to say. I thought I wanted to invite, and because we were talking about it. So now that you said that, I say maybe I shouldn't.
And you're probably thinking, and I made an exception and got this new person in who doesn't even have a PhD, and this is how they. No, I think it's only there's different purposes.
Sure.
Obviously, if you're trying to raise awareness through something, for something, going on a podcast is going to get you to a wider audience.
Yes.
But if you are trying to train people and pass on skills, obviously you cannot do that on a podcast unless, you're running your own podcast and you are like focused on certain topics, because I couldn't come to your podcast and be like, okay, I'm going to share my keynote now. And in my keynote, these are the databases that we check. And, so it's a different type of content. But there's that expression that says, those who don't do teach, and I think that's the stupidest thing ever.
Yes, and
because one of my best professors that I've had in the past, there are people who have their own PhDs and they've done their practice in the work, or maybe people are archaeologists and they've been on the field and they can come and teach you about that experience. And if the people that don't come forward to teach you, the people that just know the theory, they will always have a limited perspective on a lot of things. I always want, if I had to pick between the provenance researcher of a museum telling me stories or a freelance historian telling me just their own stories, I would always go with the person that has been in a museum and has seen thousands of objects to tell me stories. And it's not because the historian is not going to have valuable information, but it's always going to be coming from a more theoretical point of view. Mm-hmm. And it's a very hands-on thing, provenance research. You need people to do things. It's an active job. You need to go here, go there, find this person, track this person down, compare handwritings, compare notes, compare timelines. I mean, it's like solving a puzzle, and the best way to solve a puzzle is to solve the puzzle. It's not to hear about, how somebody imagines the puzzle to be solved. So yeah, I love teaching a class.
No, I think it's a great skill as well, and it's a great experience to transfer information. Even though it can be, let's just say, sometimes it is accurate for us, but sometimes it is challenged with our peers. But the best thing is to share that information so that others can learn from it and then study it, and then even doing some more research, as I said, challenging around it, rather than, as you said, I have the keynote here, I have this, let me pitch you out of this.
Yeah.
There's so many podcasts out in the world, as you and then, for example, where you just don't get much of it, and it becomes boring because the theme becomes the same, especially for, say, businesses podcasts. I mean, they have, or they say in more colorful language as possible as ever, but the result will be the same, and you don't get out of it. And then you feel, oh, okay, let me just buy this course so that I can have some more insights, which ended up being selling something that realistically you won't take much out of it.
No, I agree.
For this podcast, PhD Lounge, as I said, and this comes from COVID as well. And when I started my MA thesis, I was playing around with some of the stuff. And then if I get into a PhD, I will start a podcast. And the podcast, the main concept, it started in writing PhD first, but then I've broadened the concept, following the feedback of my listeners. The people who were close to me, close to university, who would listen to the podcast and say, you should broaden the concept. Now I invite people who are business entrepreneurs who have some academic degrees, and they can give advice also to PhDs as well, PhDs, post-PhDs, academics, industry leaders, as I said.
Yeah.
And what the objective that here is to share what you can do with your PhD, but also experience the days, the weeks, the months around your PhD. What essentially is the PhD is beyond the thesis. What goes during the thesis, what happens during the thesis, before the thesis, and after the thesis. So the universe of PhD, basically.
Yes. Well, I do plan eventually. I think we kind of touched on it when we were first speaking. That I have had research topics that have been on my desk for a decade, and I think eventually I'd like to, to carve out time to just focus and do a PhD. So I don't know if I'm going to be 50 or 60 when I do it, but I do like to give it a go at some point.
And then, if you go, we ought to do this again.
We have to do this again, yes. And then I can tell you about my actual PhD. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back again.
It would be around Provenance art research. Okay. Any specific time, any specific period, or?
It would be. I've been researching this traveling exhibition of modern British paintings that left the UK for France.
Okay.
In the early 1940s, and it has never come back.
They never came back.
No, it was confiscated by the German Navy of all groups, and they've never really come back. And it's a very odd case because a lot of the elements of the story are not traditionally what you expect in looting stories and that type of story. So I have hundreds of pages already on the research and the various people involved in it, and at one point it will come together. I don't know if it's going to be a PhD or maybe it just ends up being a book, but it's the longest piece of research I've ever done, and because it's not solved yet, I don't feel like I can let it go.
Sure.
When you have the research bug. So we'll see. I will keep you posted, I promise.
So without pressure, it's just Source is gaining popularity. It's going to be a great app, and I think just for now is maybe focus on that, and then but
I do. I do. Luz, I have a motto that is I can do it all, but I cannot do it all at once.
Yes.
And it's something good to live by. You can get inspired to do something new every other day, but I think once you start doing something, you just need to stick with it, and that means having to train yourself to have more discipline, to have more patience, to learn more, to be more humble about what you know and what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you always come out on the other end of any big project knowing less about the world. So yes, I am, and I will be focused on Source for a while because I need it to work so I can use it for my own research. But also because I love a good success, feel good story, and I'd love it if I hear stories of people using it properly. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that people use it and enjoy it, and
So I think we can just wrap it up here, and then just saying, what advice would you give to the students, graduates, or anyone who not only wants to establish a business, but also get into the art world, whether it's Provenance or any other specific field within the art world, and how can they become members of Source? So like 3 questions in all in one.
I would say that you usually hear that people get discouraged from studying the arts, and they are pushed into other fields. I think people perform best in the areas where they're most passionate about. So I think if you want to be in the art world because you love art, or you love the art market, or you love history of the market, or you love artists, then great. Don't come to the art market because you think it's going to be a good place to make money. It's actually not very easy to make good money in the art world. Mm-hmm. So at least while you struggle, make sure that you're struggling doing something that you enjoy doing. And that is similar to my advice I'd give someone for collecting. If you want to start collecting art, just start buying things that you enjoy looking at, that you'd like to live with. Don't buy something because you think, oh, in 3 years this will be worth more. Don't do that. And there's people who buy in the millions, and they can do that, and they never live with the art. They live in Freeport in Geneva, those artworks, and they never know. But the average person, I think, if you have the possibility to buy art because you like it and live with it, and get to know the artist and their work. And with Source, I just like people to see it used as creatively and, as efficiently as possible. Mm-hmm. Don't be lazy with research. If you have the option to go to the library, always go to the library. Somebody getting you information, whether through Source or something else, is no replacement for you getting firsthand knowledge. Mm. But yeah, I really hope that we can create a researcher community that is reliable, that is trustworthy, that is enjoyable, and that, people look forward to using. And then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah. And I think, just saying all the best with Source, and I think it's going to be a great app for the long run, and will be helpful for many researchers, students, and who want to be providers and requesters. Yeah. And just before finishing off, so where they can network with you, any social media where they can.
I'm on LinkedIn, Angelina Giovani Agha, and you can reach out to us through our main website, which is bemysource.com. Mm-hmm. We also have Instagram, which I'm never on, but other members of the team are. And we're on Substack currently. We're going to be posting research tips and how to navigate certain archives and so on. So yeah, I can provide you with a list of the best ways to reach us.
Okay. Now I'll be waiting for that then.
Okay, yeah.
So, Angelina, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I'll provide the Art Market Academy, Be My Source, and
thank you, very kind.
Put on the show notes for the students and graduates out there. Yeah. And for those who are tuning in, thank you all for tuning in, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a very nice conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thanks, Louis.
And being like, okay, this is the animal, this is how you can interact with it, this is what happens, and try to do much of the same, is take you with me. And it's all very much kind of quite casual, I guess, in the diary format. And it started actually not even as film or as videos or anything like that. It started as articles. I used to write articles for magazines.
Oh, okay.
It started at school, actually, when I was back in Spain. Then when I moved to boarding school in England, I wrote for the school magazine.